Yeah.
Yeah. And I think just going off of what you just said about people kind of understanding is you got to be able to build a relationship and gain trust with people so that one day people can say, if I'm the business, say, what are you trying to get done with your vehicle? And they said, I'll get whatever you think it needs. And then whenever you get to that point, you have to be an ethical human being to not suck them dry with money, but to say, hey, you could do this, you could do that. Realistically, you might want to do a 1-step rather than a 2-step, or you might want to do a sealant rather than a ceramic coating. People push people to ceramic coatings just because it makes them the most money, when in reality, if you give a person a ceramic coating that's not going to maintain it, and then it gets trashed and water spotted and, swirled, and then they call you and say, hey, my coating is water spotted. Okay. If you can educate them and let them know that it probably will be, or it could potentially be if you don't maintain it right, then it's I guess it's just on you. But as long as you make sure that you do what the customer needs and what you think is best for them, not just best for your pocket, there's really no problems. And there's been customers that I've had that have been like, hey, I want a ceramic coating. And I say, all right, well, how do you plan on maintaining it? And they say, well, what do you mean? I said, how often do you wash your vehicle? Where is it stored? Is it stored outside under trees? Is it stored in the garage? What's your plan with the vehicle? Whenever you start asking them those questions, they're like, man, this dude actually kind of cares. He's not just telling me what my prices are, which you have to really understand what they want in order to give them a price. But if you're not asking the questions first about their situation and just go straight to the price, it's going to be a very quick conversation. They're going to say, let me talk to my wife, or I'm calling around and we'll talk later. And then you're never going to hear from them.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Dustin. I'm the host of the Detail Spot podcast. And in this episode, we brought on Bradley with AutoWorks Detailing in Virginia. Bradley's going to share his journey and share how he actually went from, the start of his business to what he is now, which is a paint correction and coating specialist, and how he's actually about to move into a bigger facility where he's going to offer, window tint, detailing, paint correction, coatings, and then potentially PPF. So how he got his business to that level. He's also going to share how to operate with employees and how to operate without employees. So it's a super impactful episode, and you're not going to want to miss it. And if you are enjoying the content that's coming from this channel, and you're enjoying the podcast episodes, and you're listening to us on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify, if you can, leave us a review. It's going to greatly help the channel grow. And if you enjoy this episode, make sure to share it with a friend on social media so they can get all the information from it as well. And hopefully they enjoy it. So let's dive in this episode with Bradley. I want to invite you to join the Detail Community, which is a platform for detailers that are either looking to start their detailing business or grow their business to the next level. So if this is you, I want to invite you to join so that you can get access to a library of resources that you can come view at whatever stage you're at in your detailing business. It's going to show you everything behind the scenes on what it takes to grow a successful detailing business. You also get access to a members only podcast where you can see even more episodes. You're also going to get access to a community forum area to where you can connect and grow with other like-minded detailers that are going to help support you every step of the way during your journey. You're going to get all of that plus so much more inside the Detail Community for only $27 a month, and you get your first 30 days for only $1. So the way to look at this is if you only get one single thing from the community, and if only one strategy or only one system lead or contribute to a lead coming in or a customer booking with you, your membership is paid for plus some. So it's honestly a no-brainer. And the amount of success that some of the members are having inside, it makes it all worth it. So come connect with those guys. Come, learn what you need to learn within your business, and just come be a part of this. Come be a part of the community at the founding stage. So come join today. I can't wait to see you inside. I can't wait to see your business evolve, and I cannot wait to connect with you more. To join, go to thedetailcommunity.com, or you can go to the description if you're watching on YouTube. The link will be there. Or if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, the link will be in the show notes.
Gotcha. And you may hear my kids scream. They're having a water balloon fight, and I think it's pouring down raining. So they might bust in here. Cooper might have a podcast showing.
Okay, cool. So tell us a little bit about how you started, how you got into this industry, and a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, my name is Bradley, Chester, Virginia, 30 minutes south of Richmond. I probably started like most people had started, where I'd always kept my own stuff clean and I always kind of took pride in what the image that my vehicles portrayed. And then obviously, they kind of just started from there. So I went to school in St. Louis, Missouri, and my first job, I'd always been an athlete, so I kind of played year round. So I didn't really have time to, work or do anything like that. I was all focused on just the athletic part. But I worked at a place called Waterway, and it was like one of those drive-through car washes that did, detailing here and there, or what they call detailing. Looking back, it wasn't much of anything. But I had started there, and I kind of got the mojo as far as, the volume and, just kind of getting the real basic aspects of, drying it, door jams, vacuuming. They did some extraction, I think, here and there. But really, that was my true first job, I would say, where I actually made halfway decent money. And it was really bad sometimes because St. Louis was really cold. And we were still out there, grinding, working when it was 25, 30 degrees and the water was freezing on the cars. But that was one of my very first jobs. But as far as the professional aspect of it, I was a personal trainer manager at Gold's Gym in the local city down in Richmond. And, it was a sales-based job where I ran kind of the personal training department. And they had sales goals that you had to hit. And I had set the record for the highest sales in consecutive months. And then they kind of bumped up the quota as far as how you would hit your bonuses to make it essentially impossible to make, additional money. So when that started happening, I was like, all right, what can I do where I can make more money and enjoy kind of what I like to do? And ironically, at that time, I had people start hitting me up about doing stuff on the side. And there was a couple of shorter days that I had where I would go and, detail cars for 2-3 hours a day, 1 or 2 days a week, and make, a good amount of money from what I thought was a good amount of money back then, about 5.5 years ago, almost 6 years ago. And I was like, man, if I could do this in, 2 days, what could I do in 5 or 6 days or 7 days? And at that time I was Monday through Friday. And then when I started my business, I was basically Monday through Sunday every day. So I ended up building up my clientele base while I still had my full-time job. I'd never recommend anybody just go full-fledged and just quit everything they got going on and, go straight into it without a clientele base or without any sort of experience. But started building up a clientele locally in my area, and I knew quite a bit of people around the area as is. And then word kind of got around on Facebook and social media. I don't even think Instagram was really that huge back then, or I guess back then 5-6 years ago. It wasn't as big as it is now. But social media, kind of word of mouth through my families, my coworkers, friends, cars, and it kind of grew from there. Then I ended up leaving my full-time job and jumped right into it. So that's kind of how it rocked and rolled, and then it kind of took off from there. Here we are.
Yeah, I love that because like everybody's journey at the beginning is so similar. Like, just talking with a lot of detailers and including myself, like we all start in either some type of automotive field, whether it be a car wash, entry level detailing shop. That's kind of where I started, was like very entry level shop, like low pay. And then a lot of guys work in the dealership side and they work up from there. It's just cool that like everybody's journey is essentially the same, and then it starts to branch off. And I think like detailers, like I think we have like a weird personality to where like we want that better, that something more. We want like to take our skill level to that next step, and we're always constantly learning and trying to figure out, hey, how can I go from, just a basic car washer to a paint correction expert? And it's just kind of cool to hear that, you said it, and it's like the same thing I hear over and over. Hey, started in car washing and then wanted to take my business to the next level. And it's so cool too, because like detailing really is an extremely profitable trade. And you going from 6 years ago, you said, like,
yep.
6 years ago, man, like the industry really has evolved a lot in 6 years. Like I've seen it myself just go from like, hey, 6 years ago, ceramic coatings were beginning to be, kind of that crave, but like nowhere near what it is today.
Yeah. And I will say, it seems like, with kind of piggybacking off of that, it seems like a lot of guys that are just getting into it are trying to jump into the paint corrections and the ceramic coatings and all that right off of the jump. when in my opinion, I know I'm not really anybody to say what anybody should do, but I personally think you should start out, do the hard work, do the nasty interiors, do just your regular wash and waxes or whatever that definition is. I know there's probably 500 of them, but start in the bottom, kind of work your way up and kind of go through the grind rather than jump right in. So granted, I know guys that have jumped right into corrections that do very well, but I just know where I've come from and how hard it's been to, get the skills that I've attained. And I always want to get better. I'm not saying I'm the best, but I have grown a lot as far as my skill and just my overall confidence just over the years. But yeah, I just think you should do do everything, figure out what you like. I think the last guy you said, was it Serrano or was it Tony? Serrano's the one.
Yeah. Carlos is up next week. And then
Carlos.
Last week we had Shane Mackey with, he is with Waxing Off Detailing. He's only marine detailing pretty much.
Gotcha. So he does marine. The other guy does interiors. And I prefer doing the paint corrections, ceramic coatings. I just get I guess everything's instant gratification, but the instant gratification knowing that, hey, this vehicle comes in looking like this. And then when it leaves, it's going to look like a whole nother vehicle. And then the people are going to be ecstatic. So, but yeah, I just think you should, start out and kind of learn everything and then kind of pick and choose what you want to decide to go with and then kind of just grow from there. But knowing how to do everything is obviously beneficial, but at the same time,
I think 95% of the people who get into like starting this, like in this industry, I think 95% should start in that interior detailing, learning how to properly wash a car, starting with the basics. And then as you build that exposure, as your clients start to trust you and you get those real OG clients, because that's like what, I would personally say that like my business has had most success with is just getting like almost friends. Like when your clients become like friends and they trust only you with your vehicle, when you can get more of those, you're going to have success in whatever you offer. So once you start getting that exposure, meeting people through those interior details, those just basic wash and waxes, those entry level services, then once you start getting your skill level higher, like into paint correction, ceramic coatings, you still carry those same people with you, the same clients that trust you from the beginning days. And then whenever they need the education of, oh, does my car need paint correction? Now you can educate them because you kind of, learn those things. So I 100% agree with that. Like, and that's how I started. I didn't know paint correction when I first started. It was probably 4 or 5, hell, I maybe even 6 years before I really started to say, now I know what I'm looking at when I'm looking at that light,
Oh yeah, because I know when I first started, we were at a house that had like a 1-car garage, and true 1-car garages are like half-car garages. It's enough to like fit a car in and like crack the door and like you could like shimmy out. So that was when I first started. I did nothing but mobile essentially. I started out with an open trailer. I think it was a 6x12. Me and my dad like stained the wood, like ground on everything, painted it, made it look sweet. And then I moved to an enclosed trailer, and then I was still doing mobile. And now I actually don't do any mobile anymore whatsoever. I actually just started phasing that out just because I'm back to being solo. I had a couple of employees over the years that just hadn't worked out as far as kind of what my clients' were expectations were and what they knew that I could do. And there'd be times where they'd be like, hey, what time are you going to be out there? I'm like, well, I'm not physically going to be out there, but so-and-so will be. And they're like, well, dang. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Like, how do I even respond to that? Other than saying I can't be everywhere, be a dick, be like, I can't be everywhere. I got work I got to do here. And then they're like, well, am I not special anymore? And then you got it's like a balance that can't really ever be balanced. But it come a point where I kind of know what I want to do going forward and kind of what I want to focus on. And I had to make the change as much as it sucks because I don't like making people upset whatsoever, especially people that have been with me for, the very beginning. But like you said, they become friends and they understand and they kind of see you evolve and they know, what to expect and where you're going. And they keep an eye on it, whether they say stuff or whether they don't. Everybody keeps an eye on you, whether they are commenting or liking or, shooting you texts here and there, but they pay attention. People that like you and that don't.
No, definitely, man. And like what you said was it hit home for me because I personally saw that as well. Like, and you won't even know this until you see it. And once you see it, then you're like, man, how do I even fix this? Because and the whole aspect of what you said, like when you have employees, like now you're ready to take your business to the next level. but then your customers don't want your employees. They want to do business with you only. So it's like the more you put yourself out there, because you are supposed to, like, your brand, your personal self is your brand as well. So the more that you put your personal self in your brand now, and that's great, you'll get a lot of exposure. You'll gain a lot more traction because people want to do business with people, not really businesses. But then the downside of that is now your customers only see you and they only want to do business with you. So now when you start trying to grow and you send a guy out there, they're like, no, I want you. You've done mine for the past 3 years. And it's like, crap, man. So it's so hard to transition, like, and take your business to only promote it as your business, I guess. And I guess what would happen is you would lose customers. That's going to be inevitable. I guess any change you make within your business, you're going to lose people who only want to do business with you, because that's just not achievable, long-term, sustainable, but I think you lose some clients. But I think the clients that you really want are the ones who say, hey, whatever you think is right with your business, I trust you. So I think in long term, you'll lose some, but it may be clients that it sucks to lose them. Yeah.
Or you might.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think just going off of what you just said about people kind of understanding is you got to be able to build a relationship and gain trust with people so that one day people can say, if I'm the business, say, what are you trying to get done with your vehicle? And they said, I'll get whatever you think it needs. Mm-hmm. And then whenever you get to that point, you have to be an ethical human being to not suck them dry with money, but to say, hey, you could do this, you could do that. Realistically, you might want to do a 1-step rather than a 2-step, or you might want to do a sealant rather than a ceramic coating. People push people to ceramic coatings just because it makes them the most money, when in reality, if you give a person a ceramic coating that's not going to maintain it, and then it gets trashed and water spotted and, swirled, and then they call you and say, hey, my coating is water spotted. Okay. If you can educate them and let them know that it probably will be, or it could potentially be, if you don't maintain it right, then it's I guess it's just on you. But as long as you make sure that you do what the customer needs and what you think is best for them, not just best for your pocket, there's really no problems. And there's been customers that I've had that have been like, hey, I want a ceramic coating. And I say, all right, well, how do you plan on maintaining it? They say, well, what do you mean? I said, how often do you wash your vehicle? Where is it stored? Is it stored outside under trees? Is it stored in the garage? What's your plan with the vehicle? Whenever you start asking them those questions, they're like, man, this dude actually kind of cares. He's not just telling me what my prices are, which you have to really understand what they want in order to give them a price. But if you're not asking the questions first about their situation and just go straight to the price, it's going to be a very quick conversation. They're going to say, let me talk to my wife, or I'm calling around. We'll talk later, and then you're never going to hear from them.
Mm-hmm. And once it's done, once once they feel yucky, I don't even know what word to use, but like once they feel yucky at you, the business owner, that you're never going to get it back. Like, and so once they think that you're only out for their money, then they're instantly just never really going to spend money with you in the future. And it's like, I think you're 100% right, man. Communication, just communicating with them, let them talk to you, ask them the questions that kind of sets you up for the slam dunk on what is perfect for them, because you're the expert, you're the professional. Yeah. So when they're like, man, I actually plan on, I lease this vehicle and I get rid of it every year, but I want something that lasts me a year. Well, obviously a ceramic coating is not perfect for that client, because most of them last longer than a year. Maybe you have a 1-year coating or something like that. But, and you're 100% right, man. It's ethical. Pick their brain, ask them what they want. Sometimes it'll work out in your favor on, hey, this customer wants to keep this car forever. They're going to maintain it. They're going to garage keep it. They don't use automated car washes. Hey, that's a perfect opportunity for ceramic coating. But if this customer's like, hey, I plan on using that automated car wash and I don't plan on stopping, it's too convenient.
Yeah.
Well, boom.
I'm not taking
exactly.
it. And I'll gladly tell them that. And they're like, really? I'm like, why? Let me ask you, why would I do that? For one, you're spending all those hours getting the vehicle perfect, only to know it's going to be trashed 9 days later. One car wash is done. It's done. Yo. So,
and that's another thing too with ceramic coating. I think the approach to it is oftentimes, and honestly, it doesn't even come from us detailers. It mainly comes from the manufacturers. Like, you got some big names out there that falsely advertise the longevity of it and how like how many customers have you had come in and say, oh, I'll never have to do anything to it. It's going to last forever. And that's it. You know, like I get them all the time, and it's like, okay, now I have to, yeah, it's take them 3 steps back now because they see this commercial or this ad online, and now they think that this coating is going to last forever, you know, and it kind of sucks. But I guess that company's in business, the manufacturer's in business to make money as well. But it just sucks that like we're the ones that have to pick up the slack on the education part.
Yeah, and that's one reason. Speaking about the coating brands, is we just got in with Modesta, or I just got in, I guess you can say, because I'm solo with Modesta North America. And John Purdue is really, really big on the education aspect of it. He doesn't like going off of claims as far as it's going to last this amount of years. It's just educate them, find out their situation if they don't need a coating, or you know, if they're going to keep the vehicle for 2 years, don't offer them, you know, BCO4 is going to be 3 to 10 years because that makes no sense whatsoever. Give them, you know, the coating that is going to suffice for their situation. So that's one of the reasons that I liked John, is because he's brutally honest. Hopefully you can get him on here and he'll love to chat with you, I'm sure. But brutally honest, to the point. People think he's a dickhead probably. Or actually, they probably do. They do, actually. But most guys that are honest, people just have that claim anyway. So, but yeah, the education on really any coating is going to be important no matter which coating you go with. So
yeah, definitely. I'd love to have him on, but I love that about businesses. Like there's a few businesses within the industry, like product companies and like suppliers, that just truly have like the core foundation of like what we should be even striving for. And that's how you really have long-term success, is just being ethically right. And, you know, like just communicating with your people. And there are some companies, like ones that I was just talking about, falsely claiming and they last forever. And, you know, you can set your car on fire and it's gonna, you know, still, but, and then there's other.
One of my buddies said that before. He's seen it was a dealership set a hood on fire. And he's like, I'm all right.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. It's laughable, but then people buy it. It's like, dude, they put something like in the air in these dealerships that just makes people sign on the dotted line for stuff they don't know what the hell they're talking about. But I'll rant on this. So let's go ahead and change the topic of dealership.
Yeah, no, I know it, man. I think, was it you that when we first communicated, was it you that we were talking about the dealership coatings?
Probably. I had a conversation like 19 times a week, and I get tired of talking about it. But yeah, probably it was me.
Yeah, I feel that for sure. All right. So on the topic of like employees, this one is so key, and it's a hard one. And what you've been through, I've been through it, and it sucks, man. Like where your workload matches how many employees you have. So like when you build your business up, you're growing. Okay, now I need to bring on 1 employee. And then you're like, okay, cool. Now I'm functioning on 2. Now I need to bring on a 3rd. And then what's it like when you lose 2 of them? Like what happens to your production? How is it when, you know, now you have these leads coming in? How do you manage all of that when you lose 2 employees like that?
Thankfully, most of the people that reach out to us, sorry, I just had a message pop up. I lost my train of thought. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
What was the question again? How do I manage losing them at the same time?
Yeah. So like when you have 2 employees, how do you still produce work and maintain that level of work functioning on 3 guys, and then now just back down to yourself? How did that affect you?
So for like the first like 2 to 3 weeks, it sucked because I had, you know, a schedule for 3 guys basically. So essentially the way that I did it was I had my last employee could correct paint pretty well and polish and stuff like that. So we would normally tag team on the correction, be able to knock them out in 2 days. And then my newest employee had never been a detailer, never cleaned anything. So he was real basic and, you know, just getting the, you know, vacuuming, blowouts, light maintenance stuff as far as maintenance clients. So I had my coating schedule basically planned out, and I would just try to fill in whenever I'd get a call for certain days where I knew I only had correction work so that those guys could have work. So my correction schedule is out till basically the middle to the end of August right now. So now I'm not taking any more general detail as far as like your typical wash and waxes or interiors and exteriors. I'm strictly just doing the corrections and coatings up until the middle of August. And then I've got to be able to kind of still handle some maintenance clients that can bring their stuff by. But to answer your question, it sucked in the beginning. And I just had to do long days to suck it up because a lot of people that I was doing work for had been with me for a while. So it kind of sucked because I have a wife and 2 kids and I like to see them a little bit. But at the same time, I got it done and I sucked it up. And sometimes you got to do that. But now I'm able to really not be picky, but, choose which work I want to do. So if I know it's a minivan, I hope nobody watching this has a minivan that's trying to schedule. But let's say a minivan comes in and they said they never had it cleaned in 15 years. I'm probably going to be less likely to take that job than if somebody says, hey, I got I want to get a 1-step and a 2-year coating. I'd much rather do the 1-step and the 2-year coating than dive around in a minivan for an entire day, basically. So just a little bit more, be able to be a little bit more picky, and then just kind of choose and kind of post what type of jobs I want to do on social media. I think I heard you talk about it before. You have to post whatever jobs you want to do. If you want to do more corrections and more coatings, don't post nasty interior rejuvenation pest control services. You got to post what you want to target, because everybody's going to see. If they see you're doing a bunch of interiors, they're going to think you do a whole lot of interiors. So now I don't post any. I rarely post any general detailing. It's all paint correction, ceramic coatings, which thankfully I'm doing a lot more of. So it's easier to have the content. And I keep up with my social media pretty well, probably too much, my wife says. But just posting what you want to do and what you want to kind of target, which is just basic marketing.
I really do like your social media too, because like back to, and I used that as an example earlier about like your personal brand is you yourself, like, and it's the most, like, you don't have to do it that way. You don't have to use yourself in. It's just easier to do because you're always there. It's easy content, like, hey, pull out your camera. Here's me talking. Like, you don't have to have a car in the background when you're okay with jumping on camera and, telling your customers. And I like yours because you show a lot of personality with it. And like, it catches your attention. It makes you stay on it longer. Like your whole brand is spot on. And like your customers, like I'm a different perspective just because like I'm not your client. I'm not even the same state as you, but like if I were your client, you would catch my attention and I would really vibe with like the personality of it. So like your social media is spot on. I don't think you can do, like you said, like you may be on it too much. I don't think that's even a thing. I think like if anybody's listening is like, man, am I doing too much or too little on social media? I think it's always down to like what's sustainable, like, hey, if you only want to post once a week and that's like what you plan on doing in the future, then stay there. But if you can constantly push content, man, that's the society we live in.
Yeah. The clients want to see an authentic person online, and they want to see you be the same exact person online as you are in person. So I'm real, like I drink a lot of energy drinks. Probably my wife's a nurse. She says I drink way too many, but I told her, it's a little rant or side note. I told her all the pre-workouts that I took back in the day when I was working out all the time, 400 milligrams of caffeine in one go every day. Now I'm drinking 250 maybe a day. So I've actually gotten better if you want to think about it that way. But anyway, people want to see that you're authentic and they want to see your personality and know who they're dealing with. And then whenever you get in front of them, you got to be the same exact person and show the same energy. So you could be the best detailer in the world and have all the skills in the world. If you can't communicate or build a relationship or show kind of what you're like, basically your personality or what type of person you are, nobody's going to want to do business with you. I know a lot of guys that are really good detailers, but they're introverts. So they walk around a car, and there's nothing wrong with this, but like you said, different styles. They'll walk around the car, they'll kill a correction, and they walk around and just pay them. And there's like no commentary. You didn't tell them like what you did, why you did it. Like there's nothing. People just see a super shiny car that made a huge transformation. And I'm the complete opposite. I like to talk probably too much, and I make like 19 reels before I can get one good one, because I always say one thing bad, which you might be in the same boat. But you get all the way to the end, you say one stupid word, you're like, man, why the heck did I say that? Click, let's do it again. You look back on my cameras, I do it all the time. But just being authentic is really, really key, especially on social media. So
yeah, 100%, man. Actually, today some days it's good, some days it's bad. But today I needed a 2-minute intro clip for a podcast, and it took me about 3.5 hours because I would get to some days, dude, I'll just be like, screw it, man. That was a good one. Let it rip, And then other days I'm like,
Oh yeah.
just perfectionist for no reason. I'm like, stumbled the word "the." I got to redo it.
Yeah. Actually, I was a mass communication major in school before I switched over to business. So I did a lot of sports broadcasting and stuff like that. And there was guys' names that I didn't even know how to say halfway. And you just got to be able to just talk and just figure it out. So I think that's why I do so well on a camera as far as communicating or talking. But some people have, some don't.
and that's a perfect personality trait. And that's one of the things. It's like you were talking about, like an introvert, putting your personality into your brand. And like, if you do decide to put out videos of like yourself, or put yourself in your stories, or let your customers like really see who you are behind, the logo, that your engagement, your content, your leads coming in, it's going to skyrocket. But not everybody is built like that. Not everybody can, do those videos and put out the things that everybody should be putting out. And that's why I always say, if you're not that person, everybody has a weak point in what they're good at or what they're bad at. Like, some people, it may be sales. Some people, it may be content creation or marketing. My best advice, and I think everybody should hire what they're not good at. So like, if there's ever a point to where an introvert is at that next level of like, hey, I need more leads coming in, and you are like an introverted person, I think that would be the position to hire in. So say like, and it may be different for everybody. Like, say, and that may be that person detailing while that person is doing your content or your marketing, and it's just like, that's the strategy to it. It's like, hey, how to level up. It's going to be different for everybody, because you're an extrovert. You're great at putting your personality out there and sharing your stuff and getting someone to connect with you through a phone screen, so maybe you would be like, hey, I need a detailer versus, so I can spend more time on this. So everybody's plans would be different.
Yeah, there's going to be another transition as well. I have we're moving into a physical location. So right now I'm in my house garage is almost 1,000 square feet that I outfitted for detailing, and we do window tint as well. But I'm moving into an actual shop, and a lot of my time is one person. I have a window tinter as well. A lot of my time goes into answering calls, scheduling, and all that. And before you know it, it's 2:00, and you're like, crap, I got this hammered car I got to beat on for 2 or 3 days, and now I've just done lost half a day. So how am I going to make that up, essentially? So my next move was to try to find somebody that could do like an admin type of deal where they answer the phones and do scheduling and all that. But then I got to thinking, I'm like, if people call, they want to talk to me, and then I have all the knowledge, I can break it down to literally to a T and answer any question they may have. Whereas an admin assistant or like an office manager, it's going to be like, all right, we'll listen to your question, and then they'll relay it to you. And then you got to call them back again. And then it just circles back to, could I just do it right by myself the first time? So it's like a never ending circle of, and hopefully they give you the right representation of what the client's trying to ask. Because half the time they don't know how to even ask the question. You got to kind of pick at them and find out exactly what they're asking. So that's kind of where it's gonna be.
And that'll all be like experience based as well. Like, you're the veteran at that. So you know certain things that they're asking, certain words that's like, oh, I'm going to lead into this next, Yeah.
Yep.
So you right now are out of your home, which it was one of my things I wanted to talk to you about. Was like, I've always low key thought like, that's so powerful. Like, to be able to work. I never personally did that. My stuff just was not set up that way. Like, the city I lived in wasn't the city that like I was targeting. So it just didn't work out for me. But like, I always thought it is the most underrated thing is to work out of your garage. If you have that ability to, when you're first starting or like getting into this, that overhead cut, that low overhead, so key, man. So like, talk to me a little bit more about like, how was it working out of your garage?
It's good. I actually still do it. So I'm in the process of waiting for the new shop to open up, but it's really good. And I would continue to do it. I would not need a shop if we didn't do window tint. The only reason I say that is because we're doing window tint with basically film with adhesive, and we're trying to cut and polish the car. Any type of debris or any type of anything in the air could get stuck in that film. So we do a lot of detail and a lot of corrections and stuff like that. So I'm essentially, whenever my tinter's here, we are essentially trying to share a space that's unshareable. So now I just let him tint, and then I kind of do what I can off to the side where I can still get a little bit of work done, but I'm essentially just waiting for him to be done. So that's the one problem that I have. But other than that, if I just detail, to be perfect. I got a 5 minute, or actually about 20 steps out my back door to my garage. But I mean, I have HVAC, I have, Swiss Trax floors. I got all the lights in the world I can need, actually probably too many, but it definitely is good for, cutting cost, which I've done we've had the house for 2 years, and I've got it to where it's at in about a year and a half. I spent way too much money too quick. It wasn't supposed to happen like that, but it did. But it's definitely nice. The only thing I would say is it's tough having a parking lot as your driveway, because, you have personal vehicles, and I have a boat, and I have, a trailer and all sorts of stuff. And I play musical cars every single morning, because the car that needs to get in the garage first is the one that's at the back of the line that can't really get access to it. So yeah. It's good, but it's annoying sometimes. But the money that I'll be spending on the shop will be well deserved, well earned, I guess you can say. I mean, it's going to be worth it, because I'll be able to target people that I wasn't able to target working at my house, because I don't hear it too often, which kind of bugs it. It actually bugs me. We'll put that out there. I didn't know I was coming to a house is what people that I don't normally associate with say. And I want to make a comment every single time, and it just bugs the crap out of me. Mm-hmm. I'm like, my address is on Google. You see all of my posts and all of my social media where you found me. You should know where I'm at, essentially. I bite my tongue and I say, yeah. I don't even know what I say, because I probably black out whenever that comes out. But that bugs me a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it's cool. It's cool. I got everything right here.
That probably would be. I didn't even think about that. That would actually bug me as well. It's like you seem
downplaying.
like
they try to degrade you like you're not a freaking stud. Come on now.
Yeah.
Come on, my guy. Yeah. The biggest thing is it's not the people that are from around here, because I actually don't do any sort of marketing whatsoever. Don't do any paid advertisement at all, I guess, other than my website, which I guess you can consider paid. But everybody that I deal with is essentially, word of mouth in the area, seen my work, have somebody do work. I've done work for one of their buddies, and then they call them, and it kind of escalates. But I'm starting to reach a higher tier market, I guess you can say, with the corrections and the coatings that we do. It was a different breed of people, I guess you can say. So I've had, like, the main comments I've had is the people that have come from basically the west end of Richmond, where it's, your super high-end sports cars, your Ferraris, your Lambos, your, Teslas, if you want to call them high-end. I've only done like 2 of those, which they don't have those in my area. But they were like, yeah, I was in so-and-so, and he had a BMW. He started spewing out all these names. I'm like, dude, I got no idea what that is. Like, the model of your car doesn't really matter to me. Yeah. Other than the size of it. Like, what's that? What's the size? And I was over here, and they had this and this. I'm like, well, I want to be like, well, why are you over here? Why are you here?
Yeah.
So, I didn't know it was at a house. Yeah. What is that? What does that change? It ain't about where you do it. It's about the work you put out. And if I didn't put out good work, you're not going to be in my driveway right now.
That's the thing right there. That's it right there. It's like, you called me for a reason. I know if you're that picky, you already went through 2 or 3, 4 other businesses to look at either pricing or their brand. You chose me for a reason. And it's like,
I'm doing half the work I'm doing.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
It's crazy, man. Sometimes clients will make me freaking lose my mind when I go home, just like overthinking. Like, I'm a huge overthinker. Like, if I say something to a client, 3 hours later, sometimes I may be still thinking about that thing that I said to that client. And it was just a simple one-line sentence, Yeah.
And people are telling me about all the cars these shops are doing, and I know who does a good work around here. So I know who got it and who don't.
Yeah. And like, the city that you're in, is it a fairly large city?
I would say probably mid-size. It depends on where you're from. I guess everybody has a different definition of what large is. Let me look it up right now.
Yeah. What's like a major city you're by?
Richmond, Virginia.
Okay. So you do have a big city.
Richmond is large. That's about 30, 35 minutes north.
Okay.
I'm more in kind of like a rural area where we do a lot of trucks, SUVs. I do cars here and there. It kind of hurts my back, so I don't try to do too many cars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We do a lot of real big lifted trucks, stuff like that. We don't do, high-end sports cars or just a pain.
Your demographic is almost identical to like where my business
blue collar.
is. Yeah, it's like very bougie in some areas, but like
that's Richmond. That's the West End. That's the people I just described to you.
Yeah.
I hope they're not listening. I'm not degrading you by any means. Did you happen to watch this?
No, it's like where I am, you have like my city is like 40,000, 50,000, they maybe even 60,000 people now, but it's 30 minutes from Nashville. So like used to be kind of small town, so it still functions on that Bubba. You got some like people with like the lifted trucks, but like lariats, King Ranches sometimes.
Oh yeah,
a lot of times. So that's that would be your demographics almost identical. It's like
Richmond's 230,000. Chester is about 34,000.
Okay.
Yeah, I do a lot of the exactly who you just described, the Bubbas with the lifted trucks and the big nice wheels that do. Yeah. You know, they work like Honeywell, Philip Morris, like the night shift jobs where they work like 16s and then they have like a week off, stuff like that. I like dealing with those people because they work hard for their money, and they appreciate everything that you do, compared to the people that make a whole lot of money and want everything, you know, spoon fed to them, and they want to be treated like they're, you know, God's gift to the earth. When I don't treat anybody any different. I mean, like I said, a car is a car. It doesn't really matter whether it's a Honda Civic or a Ferrari. I've done all of it. It really, I could care less how much. People ask me all the time, what kind of cars? I'm like, dude, I really don't know. Let me look at the badge. Like I did on my story today. It was an LS 500. And I was like, Lexus. It's a Lexus. It's a black Lexus.
Bro, Lexus is hard anyway. Like anytime they go by model numbers, like Mercedes, BMW, Lexus, I'm out, bro. Like
I can't even remember when I ate last.
Exactly. Like I like cars, but like I like what I like, and like I can't remember all of them though. Like so, it's when it comes down to model numbers, man. They'll be like, "What car is it?" I'm the same way.
I Google that.
So are you looking forward to like the next move? Because this seems like a next chapter of your business, moving into a facility. You're now like, you'll probably be pushing tint more, I'm assuming, now that you kind of have a designated space for that. Are you excited to, move, or would you rather have stayed?
I'm actually super excited to move because tint's been very good for us. My tinter's been with me for right at about a year. I got certified to tint about 2 years ago. And I tried to manage tint myself and still do the tint while I had my super busy detailing schedule. And I tried to do it and it was just horrible. I didn't ever not work. And it was just taking me forever. Like whenever you start anything new, you're like, how to do it, like to a T. I could teach somebody probably how to tint, but as far as actually doing it, I'm like super OCD. And with tint, it's really hard to be OCD because there's not really ever a perfect tint job. There's a really good tint, but it's hardly ever perfect. And I'm like the perfect type. So I see like one little crease or one little speck of dirt. And I'm like, man, I got to redo it. And before you know it, it's 8 hours on 2 windows and you're making $150. So I actually ended up starting tint and stopping it. And then I hired my tinter, Jack, who was referred in a couple areas, been around in a couple shops. And he's been with me for almost a year. So I am looking forward to it, to us to have separate spaces. Like we get along pretty well. We talk crap. I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss or not, but we talk crap to each other pretty much nonstop the entire time. And we're really close to each other, like physically, like here to here. So he's going to have his own little area. I'm going to have my own little area, and I'll be able to push tint. And granted, I'm still pushing it. I'd be stupid not to. But it's so little space. Like I have a lot of space, but at the same time, I don't right now. So I'm going to have a whole lot more space, and, I have big bay doors and all sorts of stuff. But it's going to be cool. It's going to definitely the next chapter for sure. And I want to expand even more. The unit we're going into has 8 units. They are to 20 by 50. So we'll have 2,000 square feet. And then there's a bathroom in the back in the middle. And I decided to not have a wall down the center. So it's pretty much just a big open area with the bathroom kind of blocking off 2 little separate back areas. So I'll have one like coating booth or, correction area. And then the tint's going to be on the other side. And I'll have just open area up front. So this space is definitely needed, and it'll have parking as well, which I'm looking forward to getting my driveway back.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. And like you were talking about getting tint perfect. And I know a lot of clients are kind of like nitpicky when it comes to tint, like every car they get tinted, and they almost judge based on, I mean, just like anything, I guess the quality of work, but I feel like it's a little bit more when it comes to tint because they can visually see it. Whereas like a coating, it's clear. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's a little bit different. How do you go about when there really isn't such a thing as a perfect tint job? How do you go about like, I guess expectations? Like, how do you manage those?
Yeah. Well, with anything detailing or tint, you have to set the expectation up before and make sure that you align and that everybody understands what's going to happen. Because with tint, what you get 2 weeks down the road is not what they get when they leave, which I think is the hardest, most frustrating part because you still have your solution bubbles. Stuff could heat out and the adhesive can suck up. And people don't really understand that. They think they know what they're talking about, but like with detailing, they don't know what they're talking about at the end of the day. So being able to explain that to them and not be rude or sound like you're trying to make them feel dumb is probably the biggest learning curve. Because like you said, with the ceramic coatings, what they get when they leave is exactly how it's going to be. But with tint, you tint it, it has to absorb and it has to, the adhesive has to be sucked up by the sun and it's going to be better in 2 weeks. But getting people to understand that is really the hardest part. Because even if you tell them, and there's, your little solution bubbles, minor minutes, like microscopic, like in a bottom left corner, you got to go like with a light looking for it at the right angle to see it. They call you saying there's a problem. It's like 6 hours later. Yeah. I'm like, Karen, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay, Karen. We actually talked about this multiple times. You're going to need 2 weeks, Karen. And I said Karen because that's like the best way to describe I don't know, Karens.
Yeah, man, that's just service industry as a whole. Like a little side rant. My wife is actually a server, and she comes home, and I couldn't be a server here, and for this reason, just because we deal with in the service industry, we may deal with, and especially when you get into like corrections coatings, you deal with one car over the course of 2 days, so you only have to maybe talk to that one client. And that's the only client that you talk to sometimes for a day or two. And with servers, they deal with so many people, and they'll get people that like complain about the most smallest thing and then not tip you. And it's like, she's had multiple nights where it's just like $0 tips. They'll put like 99 cents on like an $80 tab. Yeah. And I'm like, I would lose my shit in front of that customer, like I just couldn't do it. And, but yeah, I mean, the clients are just, I don't know. And that's a perk though. That's a pro for detailing in the sense of you deal with one person and interior detailing, more of those quantity based. That's where it kind of sucks. And I think everybody should slowly want their business to transition to something that's going to be more enjoyable, like corrections, coatings, PPF, tint, just because your client interaction goes down, and that's such an enjoyment. Like when you have to talk to less people, meet less people's expectations and requirements, like it honestly makes you go home and enjoy your job a little bit more.
Yeah, and you have to be able to provide. You have to think about what people want. Like let's say for a new vehicle, people that buy a new vehicle are, let's hope they don't get a dealer coating, but if they don't get a dealership coating or whatever they're calling it nowadays, what are they going to need for their car? They're going to need protection on the paint or any exterior or any interior surface. They're probably going to get window tint, and they could potentially need paint protection film. So as a business, you got to think about where people are going to be going and find a way to get all those services taken care of in one spot. So we don't do paint protection film right now, but I will be doing paint protection film by next year. I should probably get trained for it next year. But a couple of people have told me, if you're a detailer that's not doing, paint protection film, window tint, paint correction, ceramic coatings, you can kiss it goodbye. You're probably not going to make it another 5-10 years. But that's just how the industry's going. Mm-hmm. So if you do, you're getting into your tint, you're getting into your paint protection film, and you're making sure that you're able to do it at a high level before you go to another aspect, then that's really where you want to be. My tinter wants to do paint protection film now. And I say, slow your roll. I want to do it. I want to do it as well. But let's go ahead and lock this in and make sure we do a really, really good job before we try to do something else. We want to be, what's the saying? Jack of all, or a master of all is what's the daggone saying? Jack of all trades is a master of none, or something like that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but I haven't heard it enough to like quote it perfectly.
Man, that's gonna bug me. Let me look up a quote.
It's pretty much like baby steps. Like,
yes, be good at one thing before you go to the next. Mm-hmm. Don't try to be okay at everything, or don't try to be okay at everything. Be great at a lot of things. I think that's something you get what I'm saying.
It's really hard for us as well, because like that entrepreneur type of mentality, it's like your freaking brain goes through the roof with ideas, and like you can almost, what happens is you almost see the big picture before you've actually did the steps to get there. Yeah. So it's like, you're like, oh dude, when we add PPF, we're going to make so much more money than what we're making now. Once we add that service, we're going to be able to get, be an all-inclusive shop. But it's like, oh crap, first we need to, get the training down. We need to first master, get our customers knowing that we offer tint first before, it's like, I know exactly what you mean. It's like baby steps first. And it honestly goes back to, hey, interior detailing. Like you were saying, your recommendation was, hey, everybody should do that hard grunt work first. Master that, then ease up to polishing, then maybe correction, then coatings, so, and it's levels to this. And that's what's the cool part, is at the end of these levels, if you really want to be a big business, a big detailing business, now you can do PPF, tint, coatings. And it's kind of cool because that wasn't a thing. An all-inclusive shop really wasn't a thing 3 years ago, even 5 years ago. Now it's kind of like, dude, you're adding a whole nother business inside of your business now.
Yeah, because now I know a couple of guys in my area that actually do mobile tint as well. So they're doing mobile tint, mobile paint protection film. Granted, you have to have a garage for the PPF, but they're doing tint outside. My buddy Devontae has one of those big Dodge Ram vans, and he like moves the van around to block the wind while he tints one side. Actually pretty cool. Good guy. But he does all of that. And the tint shops that have been around for, 15, 20 years are starting to catch on. The detailers are starting to come for the work. Mm-hmm. And they're seeing what type of breed we are. Like tinters are a different breed, and detailers are a different breed as well. But now you're starting to see the tint shops trying to do detailing as well, and corrections and coatings. And I'm like, you ain't got it. Yeah. That's not it's a great thought, but it's probably not going to work out. But they're starting to see, the detailers that are the higher end detailers doing, getting into tint, which we're doing, getting into paint protection film, which they're also doing. So it's starting to like be an actual fight not a fight, but clients are having more options. Mm-hmm. And would you rather go to a tint shop that's going to look janky, and, the dude's going to walk out and look like he could potentially rob you, and, you don't really know if you're going to make it out alive, or are you going to come and deal with this beautiful face and have somebody that can communicate and has good reviews all over the place? The answer is pretty easy, and it's going to help you whenever there's an issue. That's one of the things that I had when I didn't tint, or when I didn't really care about, my own stuff, was I would go and I had issues at some shops, and they'd like yell at me. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, why am I getting yelled at? I had this minor problem, and I just asked if it could it's something that would come out, or if it would be fixed. And, I'd get like threatened. So what type of environment do you want to support, essentially? So
it's funny that you brought up, I actually have a story recently. I actually collaborated with this tent shop whenever I first opened my shop up, and I was like, hey man, like I don't offer tint, anything, any person that comes in is like, hey, do you know a guy that does good tent work? I'll send them your way. Like if you have any detailing or coatings, you send them my way. Well, like I was sending a lot of tint work, and I wasn't getting any in coatings, and that's fine. It may work out like that. Some people may just be busier than others. Like I didn't expect anything on the back, and it wasn't like that type of collaboration where I was making money off of it. It's just kind of more so about support and exposure. Well, fast forward to today, like this week or last week, I think it was, I actually had a client. We did we used to do lifetime coatings with the coating company that we offered at the time. And, we had a car that I coated like 2.5 years ago or 2 years ago. And he was like, man, I just got my windows tinted by this guy. And he said, you didn't do a very good job. And for the amount of money that I paid. And I was like, I would love to know who it was, and like, what was the imperfections that this tinner that now is doing coatings and like detailing, what did he point out? And he's like, these water spots and like these micro scratches on the hood. And like the client obviously didn't use those words, but it's like, you do know that that's a 2-year-old coating. Like water spots are going to form over the course of 2 years. And I called the dude and I was like, hey man, like that's such bad business. And the fact that you know that these things are like not my fault or my business's fault and that you have to badmouth that. But I do feel that that's the direction that I think tent shops have the disadvantage though. I think like
100%.
A customer doesn't put that together like, oh, he's going to offer detailing too. But a detailer now, like customers kind of getting it in their head like, oh, he may offer PPF, he may offer tent, so detailing has the one up, and it's kind of lucky that it went like that. But tent shops just have a bad rep when it comes to their persona, like the hoopty tent shops.
That's why I said they're a different breed, because a lot of tenters that are really good, which there are really good tent shops around, they don't understand and they don't even talk to each other. Like they think it's like threatening whenever somebody else tries to do what they do, and they like try to attack you. And I'm like, nah, buddy, it's actually not like that at all. But yeah, like I said, it's just a different breed. Like it's just two different types of people essentially. But people know, they'll slowly figure out. They see, like I said before, people watch and they lurk, and they know.
Oh yeah, for sure. Okay, so we got room for about one more topic, and if you were to give someone that is looking, because it's kind of worked out perfect that you are about to go to that next chapter, you're about to level up. If you were to give someone that is looking to kind of, a detailer already looking to take his business to the next step, what advice would you give them?
I would say, for one, make sure you have all your ducks in a row. Make sure you have a clientele base. If it is you going from mobile to a shop, make sure you're going over all of your numbers and all of your money that's coming in and all of your expenses, and make sure that, for one, that you can afford to go into it, that you're going to make money off of it. And two, do you have the communication skills, the relationship building skills, and the detailing skills to do that? Because obviously if you're going into a shop, you're probably not doing it to go, do your general detailing. You're probably going in to do your higher end work, corrections, ceramic coatings, a tent like we talked about, paint protection film, stuff like that. So I would say just make sure you have all your ducks in a row. And if you've never gone to a training or any sort of training to better yourself or your skills, no matter how good you think you are or how bad you think you are, definitely go to trainings. I've been to quite a few. I've been to Jeremy over at Shine Supply. I've been to Steve Simmons, the Shine Doctor, who's also had Kilmer there. And then David, Legend Auto Detailing, come down here. We hosted a training. So I would say go to as many trainings that you can, pick everybody's brain. Make sure that you have the skills. So not only you can actually physically do the work, but you can also talk about it. And also Chase Tubbs. I went to a training down there that was more business focused, which I think that was probably one of the biggest ones, especially going into a shop, knowing how to market, how to do your SEO, how to do your website, how to get clients that you don't already have a grasp on is huge. That training was actually 99% business relationships, communication, expectations, pricing your packages, all sorts of stuff. And that was one of my favorites. And a lot of guys that that were at that training were doing very, very well. So just knowing how to run the business, operate the business, communicate, make sure you understand your skills, in particular, what you need to work on, what you can, get better at, because everybody needs to. It doesn't matter how many trainings you've been to, there's always things that you can improve on. But that's probably my recommendation would just be, realize it's going to be hard work and it's not going to be easy, because if it was easy, here's the corny saying, everybody would do it. It's not easy at all. And it's long days and long nights and a lot of messages and texts and emails and whatever the case may be. So you stick with it, and it can definitely be a success.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's not easy whatsoever. This industry is very, you have to always be looking to learn. You have to always evolve with the industry itself. Like, because this industry is one that's always growing and always something new coming out. And it's not one that you can kind of just sit back and you can reap the benefits, but you got to put in that upfront work. Like you need to put in that hustle up front, because to get your vision, or to get your, say your profit goal is X amount, like it's going to take a grind up front. You're going to have to learn. You're going to have to, put in those long hours. You're going to have employees quit, like we talked about earlier. You're going to have to match their work and the work that you already had. So it's definitely a hard trade, but that vision just has to overpower, because it is worth it in the end. And I truly do love this industry as a whole. I think like sky's the limit here. I think like, especially the way it's evolving, new services that you can now offer, and the price tag that comes on detailing. Now you can actually charge and make a good amount in this trade. So, but it does take work, like you said.
Yeah. And then once you get in there and you get all set up and get ready to roll, realize that there's another step ahead. So never think you're done and that you think you're finished. It's just, like you said, a next step. And don't ever get complacent, because the second you get complacent and think you're the bee's knees, or, you're the greatest thing ever, somebody's going to be working harder than you that might be close to you. And they, like I said before, they're watching.
Mm-hmm.
They're watching. Oh, yeah. The second that they know you're slacking off and that you think you're there, mm-hmm. You got to keep elevating your game and just know that people are, not coming for you personally, but they want to be where you're at, and you could potentially be, something that they keep their eyes on as far as where they want to go with their business, and just keep the foot on the gas and do the work, essentially.
Yeah, 100%. There's always going to be that one dude in your area that may have not even thought about starting his business, but next year he does. And he could be the one that, actually has a solid idea of how to brand himself, has the know-how to get out there and get that exposure. So you always have to be growing your business. You always have to be leveling up and just being better than what you were last year, because there is the guy that's going to come out and grow 10 times faster than you may have in your first year. It's crazy. Like I see it all the time. Like you'll see 10 businesses that probably just won't make it, honestly. And you can just tell, like, they just don't have that grind to get it done. But you do see that 1 out of 10 that's just going to be, he has the concept of what it takes. You can just tell he's going to grow faster.
Yeah. And even with, having quote unquote competition, I know I talk to a lot of the detailers in the area that are willing to talk to me. I know I've tried to reach out to a few, and, they're like, you're my competition. I know I was on with Phil, what was it, 2 weekends ago, and he's 30 minutes from me. We essentially do, I would say, probably the same thing. He does more, paint enhancements, gloss enhancement. I do a little bit heavier corrections, but we essentially pretty much target almost the same people. And Tony Ralder's Details, who's big on the van builds, he's also in my area as well. And I've talked to all of them. So just knowing, who your competition is, quote unquote competition is, and just knowing that they are good people. So just is what it is. So just don't be a douche. Talk to everybody, talk to as many people as you can, because you never know when you're going to need somebody to help, or, look out, or, you might be slow for a week and they can refer somebody to you, or vice versa. So.
Yeah. And that's what's so cool about it, is like, if you do it right, like, I think a lot of people are really immature on how they, especially in this trade, I think, just because, like, I say it all the time, like it's an experience-based trade. You don't have to be really smart. Like, I'm in it as well. So like, I'm almost like insulting myself every time I say this, but like, you don't have to have anything to get started in this. So what happens is you get a lot of people that are just not there sometimes on how to view things or how to perceive things, or just really closed-minded people is essentially what I would say. And the way they look at competition is just completely wrong, and it's kind of toxic a little bit. But if you go at this right, like, hey, I'm cool with everybody, like, in my area, unless you just really wrong me. Dude, you can have such a solid relationship with them that we're like, you're not going to stay booked up. No one is going to stay. I'm not going to say no one, but like, most people won't stay booked up every week of the year. You're going to have slow weeks. You're going to have slower than normal weeks, rather, but if you could shoot a message over to dude and say, hey, if you're super busy and you need someone that, or if you have a client that wants something done this week, like, and vice versa, man, that can be so powerful. Like, and just piggyback off of each other and collaborate, essentially.
Yeah. And I when I was saying about, talking to your competition, I don't mean like every single day. Like, I'm busy, they're busy, everybody's busy. So, it's one of those things where it's like, hey, what's going on? XYZ, once every month or once every 2 months, or I'm sure there's guys that talk to each other closer than that. But you got to realize that you're busy, or I'm busy, they're busy, he's busy, she's busy, whatever the case may be. So just get to know them, be able to communicate with each other whenever you need something or need help, and still be considered friends, but still be quote unquote competition. But at the end of the day, there's enough cars for everybody, and there's enough people that are spending money right now that you don't need to try to fight for the same people or fight for the same area. The business will come as long as you're doing whatever you got to do and handle your own business, and target who you want to target, and do your social media and get your website up and your SEO and your marketing, and stay on top of your socials. Everything will take care of itself as long as you're a good person, do good work, and also stand by your work. If there is an issue, hopefully there never is, but issues do happen, and it goes back to kind of the communication aspect. Is if there is an issue, how are you able to communicate it and say you'll fix it without really blaming them or taking blame yourself? You say, bring it by. What's the issue? First off, I'll resolve it. Just let me know when you can come by so I can check it out, and then we can get it scheduled to get it fixed.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Bradley, super fun episode, man. How can people find you, like your socials? Let them know how they can find you.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. AutoWorks Detailing RVA is my Instagram handle. If you want to check out my website as well, if you want to check out how to do my pricing or my packages or how everything's laid out, autoworksdetail.com. That's autoworksdetail.com. And also you can find me on Facebook as well. It's a business page, AutoWorks Detailing RVA also. So.
Heck yeah, dude.
Yeah,
awesome.
I appreciate you having me. I know I wanted to get on early because I know you're going to blow up.
That is it for this episode of the Detail Spot podcast. Had a lot of fun chatting it up with Bradley and just really, hearing him share what he's done in this industry and what he plans to do in the future. So it's really cool to hear other people's ambitions and see how far they're willing to take this. So I hope you enjoyed it as well. And if you're listening to this podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and you're really enjoying the episodes coming from this channel, if you can leave us a review, it's going to greatly help the channel grow. And if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to share it with a friend so that they can enjoy it as well. And like always, if you ever need anything, always feel free to shoot me a message on social media. I'll be glad to help in any way I can. And stay tuned for the next episode of the Detail Spot podcast.